Well, hello again, everybody. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by 101 CBD. So CBDA is considered raw because it still has that beneficial, delicate acid molecule still attached to it. You see, a lot of the times when hemp is processed for CBD, it gets heated up. And when you heat up the oil, that acid molecule evaporates off. That's called decarboxylation. And it's a shame because we're just now starting to find out how much more beneficial CBDA is. And raw CBD is exactly what you get in every product from 101 CBD. And since it is derived from hemp, they can ship almost worldwide without a problem. So go over to 101cbd.org, order yourself some oil, and at checkout, don't forget to use coupon code IMGS25 to get 25% off of that order. Now, once again, I want to remind you that on November 9th, at the Ventura County Fairgrounds in Ventura, California, they're going to be having the CBD Health and Wellness Expo. They're going to have free health screenings there for you, and it's a great opportunity for you to, kind of compare CBD companies side by side, and talk to these people and see what they're about. Once again, that is Saturday, November 9th at the Ventura County Fairgrounds in Ventura. All right, now let's get started. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me once again. This is the In My Grow Show, the podcast dedicated to taking the mystery out of cannabis. I'm your host, Alex. I hope everyone's sun-grown is doing really well. I hope everyone's outdoor bud is doing really well. It's just about that time to pull it down, man. You got a couple, maybe a couple more weeks, like 10 days maybe. Me on mine, let's see. I've got a cool one, or let's see, I had a cool one outside and 2 Space Forces. But the cool one came down a couple of days ago. It was ready. I saw about 60% amber trichomes. That's what I like about 60% amber, and that's when I chop them down. Now the 2 little Space Forces I have, they still have, about a week. I think about the 15th I'm going to bring those girls down. And I call them my survivors because they're the 3 little survivors that were left over from when I went on vacation. And I left somebody in charge of my, my grow. And 3 little ones were all that survived. But they were fighters. They really, they really rallied at the end. Really proud of them. I wish they were a little bigger. Well, you always wish they're a little bigger, right? But getting back on topic. If you're growing outside, it's pretty much almost time. Hopefully it hasn't rained on you. Or you've gotten an attack of, once again, of the dreaded botrytis at this point, of the bud rot. Somebody else this week just sent me pictures of their bud rot battle. As I was saying, I hope everything's going well in your garden. But bringing it back to my plants, it was kind of a battle this season with them, with the white flies and the flea beetles. Now that, I think, mostly had to do because I had them so close to the tomato plants. Or I should say I had the tomato plants so close to them. It was a constant battle. I kept having to beat everybody back with, some predatory mites. And a couple of times I got some lacewings, same kind of thing. But it all ended pretty good. Yeah, what's that on the mic? I spit all over the mic. That's gross. Now I also have this little cabinet going, and in that cabinet I've got these 2 small hemp plants. They're about 6 or 8 inches tall by now, probably about 8 inches tall by now. And I was thinking the other day to myself, so I know when cannabis is ready because I'm looking at trichomes. I figure a nice amber, 60 like I said earlier, and I know it's ready. But I was talking to a hemp farmer, and he was telling me that because they're growing for CBD, they constantly during flower have to test their bud to see how close it is to that 0.3 threshold to be hemp, to be considered hemp. Because once you go over that 0.3 in America, it's no longer considered hemp. Once you go over that 0.3 of THC, once you go over that threshold, it's no longer considered hemp. It is considered cannabis, and you need a whole other set of license and headaches to grow that legally here. That didn't even come to me until I was in my own garden looking at it like, wait a minute, how am I supposed to do this? Yeah. I got to get a lab in here. Ask them about it. That's a good question. I got to write that down. Okay. So keeping on the theme of hemp, it's really been coming up a lot, or at least CBD. Somebody gave me a Henry's Original CBD joint. Shout out to Christina from Sesame Creek Collective. I'll be talking to her a little later, by the way. But anyways, I went over to talk to her. So she turns me on to this Henry's Original CBD joint. It was called Ritual. And it had a CBD level of 8.4 and a THC level of 0.5. So it was still considered a cannabis joint, I guess. So when the time was right, I lit it up. And I'm sitting there and I'm smoking and it feels natural like a joint. But I'm smoking and in my, until I actually think about it, because just on, muscle memory alone, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to stop smoking when I feel really high. And I have to keep reminding myself consciously, no, you're not going to get high. This is a CBD joint. But putting all that aside, besides not getting high, I liked the flavor. It was cool. I don't know if I really felt more relaxed. I wasn't stressed out to begin with. And it felt comfortable mostly because, it was a joint. So I'm still kind of on the fence about whether I'm a CBD joint guy or not. I don't think I am. I like a lot more THC. But I can see how, why people are attracted to it. I can't see why people are using it to stop smoking for sure. Now some people are going to argue, well, you're just replacing one thing for another. It's like, yeah, well, true, maybe they are replacing one thing for another, but it's all about harm reduction, right? What's doing the least harm to you? A cigarette or a CBD joint? So, yeah, I can see why. I can see the attraction. The last thing I want to talk about is the Mary Jane 5K marathon that I was supposed to volunteer at last weekend. I was all jazzed about it. I was real excited, but it didn't work out as I imagined. First of all, so I was supposed to be at the starting gate at 5:30 in the morning because, like I said, I was going to be the morning crew, and I was going to hand out bottles of water and words of encouragement. So I had to show up at 5:30. That didn't happen because my alarm clock didn't go off, or maybe it was operator error. Maybe I didn't set it right. I don't know. I'm blaming technology. Woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. By the time I got down to the area where more or less down by the beach, it was supposed to be like the starting line. It was about an hour and 15 minutes later or something. And I couldn't find the starting gate. Couldn't find it. Drove all the way around. Finally decided after 2 hours that I was late. It was like 7:30. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to show up for this. Come on. So I decided to wait till the race started and then go hang out at the finish line because I knew my buddy Rodney was there with his company because I think they were one of the sponsors. Sana Gente. Shout out to Rodney. But yeah, that's my story about volunteering. It was too much fun. Well, now let's get to the strain of the week. And today I'm going to give it up to the Dream Queen, which is a cross between two beloved strains, the internet says, of Blue Dream and Space Queen. Now those are two very good strains, especially the Space Queen. It offers intense odors reminiscent of pineapple and bubblegum. Don't know about the pineapple and bubblegum. It was very fruity. I will give it that. Didn't get the bubblegum kind of notes. Maybe my palate's not that developed. Who knows? I don't know. It definitely had a little kind of a citrusy taste to it. Now the high on this was, let me tell you folks, it was a really good high. It really got me there. It kept me there. And do not share this with people who have never smoked before. I mean, you can if you want to. Like I've said before, you're an adult and you can fuck with your friends all you want. But this will fuck with them. But it was a great high though. So when you see it out there, the Dream Queen, pick some up. It's great. I'm having too much fun with the microphone. All right, now I want to move on a little bit to what's going on in my social media. I want to talk about yoga at the beach with Laura. That's right, something very local. There's yoga at the beach every Tuesday and Friday morning from 9:30 to 10:30. Tuesdays, there is a suggested donation of $10, but on Fridays, it's free because it's sponsored by 101 CBD. Those guys are everywhere. And this sounds like a lot of fun. This sounds like a really good time. As long as the weather holds, of course. They don't do yoga in the rain. For more details and directions, you can find Laura on Instagram at sing.in.the.sky. That is sing in the sky with a dot between every word. And that's where you can get details about yoga at the beach. All right, now let's do a little bit of the cannabis front line. A couple of headlines that I've seen in the news lately. And the first one is just too unreal. I found this over at Leafly. It was put together by David Downs, and the title is California Vape Maker Cushy Punch Caught Making Illegal Products. Can you believe it? After everything that's in the news, these guys are making illegal products. Alright, it starts off. Prompted by a tip, investigators at the California Department of Consumer Affairs served a search warrant on Thursday, October 3rd at a light industry space in northwest Los Angeles' Canoga Park district. There they found all illegal cannabis product manufacturing operations apparently operated by Cushy Punch, a legal state-licensed company. Should I read this like Seinfeld? Authorities seized a number of finished products. No, maybe not. Authorities seized a number of finished products, including gummies in Cushy Punch packaging and 7,200 disposable vaporizers in Cushy Vape packaging with an estimated street value of $21 million. That's a lot of cartridges. Goes on to say the facility appeared to be performing petrol solvent extractions, where a technician concentrates the active ingredients in cannabis, THC. Petrol solvent extraction is legal with a permit in California. The extraction method can sometimes have the effect of concentrating pesticides along with the THC. The San Fernando Valley facility appeared to be in the business of putting those extracts into professional-looking THC food as well as disposable vape pen cartridges. A source accused the adult use license of maintaining two facilities, one licensed and one black market. Source alleges that cannabis that tested clean would go through Cushy Punch's licensed facility and into the licensed supply chain. But cannabis that might fail the state's stringent pesticide standards went to the illicit extraction lab, dun dun dun, pen factory and kitchen located at 8427 Canoga Avenue in Canoga Park. Get this, the facility sits on the same block as the Los Angeles Police Department Topanga Community Police Station. Can you get that? That's balls right there. That is balls. So this doesn't look good for Cushy Punch. I think they're going to close them down. I mean, come on. They caught you with your hand in both cookie jars. But there you go, just one more wrinkle in the whole vape pen cartridge dilemma that we've got going on in the cannabis industry. Next, I want to move on to an article that I found at the Marijuana Moment. And this was put together by Kyle Jaeger. Jaeger? I think I've had this conversation before, haven't I? Alright, but the article is titled Key Mexican Lawmakers Bill Would Legalize Marijuana Through Government-Run System. How could that go wrong? A government-run system? Well, I mean, I read that they kind of modeled it over Canada, but Canada and Mexico are two very different countries, let me tell you. Well, let me actually be clear. I can't speak for the Canadian side, but from everything that I've read, and I've seen, and I've spoke to people, Canada and Mexico are very two different countries, as they should be. But let's find out what's going on. A key Mexican lawmaker introduced a bill on Tuesday that would legalize marijuana through a government-run system while at the same time allowing for personal home cultivation. Yeah, personal home cultivation is what I'm talking about. Let's see. Mario Delgado Carrillo, the coordinator of the ruling Morena party, filed the legislation arguing that regulating cannabis would promote public health and that having a program overseen by the government would prevent large marijuana companies from monopolizing the industry. You know, and I'm saying this because I'm a cynic, and everybody who knows me knows I am. Mostly. Well, sometimes. Anyways, I don't think I'd be worrying so much about monopolization as I would about corruption in this legalized industry in Mexico. For many reasons. Don't get me wrong, I love the motherland. That's like I said, it's the motherland. But just by reading the details of this article, there's way too much opportunity for fuckery, for shenanigans. Goes on to say, under the legislation, a government body called CanSalud would be established, tasked with regulating the market. It would be the exclusive property of the federal government, with a technical, operational, and management autonomy for the realization of its primary purpose, to facilitate cannabis legalization. I don't know what that means. That's not clear at all. The legislation notes that the Mexican Supreme Court deemed the ban on personal possession and cultivation of cannabis unconstitutional last year, and that this proposal is therefore within reason. That's right. Unconstitutional in Mexico. Can't keep a brother down. So at this pace, in my calculations, and this is just me, I don't know anybody in the Mexican government. I don't really know how this is all working out. This is just my opinion. I figure by the end of the year, by January 1, Mexico is going to have some kind of legal cannabis system in place. You heard it here first. Well, maybe not first, but you heard it here. I wonder what that's really going to do to the country. I mean, what will legal cannabis do to the country? Mostly the cartel violence. That's my big question. Hopefully, this has the effect that they're hoping for, which is less violence. Because they got to try something. Prohibition's not working. Prohibition hasn't worked. They got to try something. We can't fucking fault them or criticize them. So good on them, man. I hope it really works out. I don't mean to be a cynic, Mexico. I really don't. I love you. Like I said, you're the motherland. Come on. It needs to work out. And that, brothers and sisters, was the report from the Cannabis Front Line. As I said earlier, I went down to Sesame Creek Collective to talk to Christina. She is one of my favorite bud tenders over there. Mostly because I don't go to dispensaries a lot. It's very rare that I'm in there. When I do go, I buy just the occasional flower, maybe a gram or an eighth, mostly for the strain of the week. But I don't really shop around. I'm not a concentrates guy. I'm not a vape. I'm not a vape cartridge person. The drinks are okay, but I'm just a flower guy. I don't really gravitate to anything else. I'm not. So I like to invite Christina in every once in a while to kind of give me the down low on what, how the new way people are taking cannabis or what it's being used for or how it's being pushed. And she was cool enough to, agree to do the show again. We set up in one of the back rooms once again over there at the shop at Sesame Creek Collective. So there is some background noise of like door slamming and a bell going off every once in a while. I think it's every time we had a good idea, a bell went off. I think that's exactly what was happening. Anyways, take a listen, see if that's really true that, a bell went off every time we had a good idea. And please remember, once again, neither I nor Christina are doctors. All right. I'm going to play a little bit of music, and then I will put that conversation on for you. Hang tight. Well, everyone, with me again, I've got Christina, who is one of my favorite bud tenders over at Sesame Creek Collective up here in beautiful Ojai, California. Christina, welcome back to the show, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get into our conversation, first of all, I want to say congratulations to Sesame for getting best dispensary second year in a row, man.
Best in Ventura County. Yeah, thank you very much. We have some very loyal patients, and we appreciate every one of them. It's been a great 2 years here, and it's makes us very proud to win that for a second year.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Good for you guys.
Thank you.
When we spoke a couple of days ago, you reminded me that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes.
Which kind of goes hand in hand with our conversation today, because I've been curious for a while, what kind of products are available for women for different female issues? And I can't have this conversation by myself because I have no idea what most female issues are. Yeah, that's basically what I want to know, is just what's really available for women for different, whatever ails them.
Absolutely. Well, the reason I got my medical card in the first place was for having painful periods and bad PMS. So cannabis has always been a natural choice for me for relieving the pain from bloating, cramps. It provides pain relief. The anti-inflammatory properties of CBD, which we understand now, are very critical for that. And gosh, there's so many products available for women right now. It is amazing.
Since it is breast cancer awareness, what kind of conversations do you have with women when they come in, if they do have breast cancer, as far as what are they using it to treat symptoms? Are they using it for actual trying to treat the cancer?
We see both. Primarily, most of the research has focused on treatment of the side effects and the symptoms of, say, chemotherapy, radiation. Side effects like vomiting and nausea. We all know THC and CBD are fantastic for relieving that, for stimulating your appetite when you don't feel so good. Also for pain relief, for keeping your mood in check. I mean, it's a lot of stress that people are going through. So just to kind of keep the nerves in check, deal with anxiety. What we haven't really seen is any real definitive research as far as, shrinking cells or, does it stop cancer? We can't use words like that in our dispensary, obviously. We always remind everybody we're not doctors or nurses. We just can only share what we know about the products. But we see people that also are just taking a different approach. They don't want to go through the real harsh medical treatments like chemo, and they want to try to do it themselves naturally. So we see a lot of people that are being their own advocates and willing to kind of experiment on something more natural before doing something very dramatic. We appreciate everybody coming in and sharing their stories, and we try to work together, again, based on just research we've seen or we've read or we've heard. But yeah, I would say a lot of it is just is helping with, again, the nerves and the pain and the discomfort. So again, lots of products. A lot of people buy tinctures. Strong tinctures are always really great for, I tell people, if you're going to spend the money and you have cancer and this is really going to make a good go at this, let's get some good full spectrum product. Let's get some really high quality oil.
So what's considered a strong tincture?
Something like the brand Papa and Barclays. Their tinctures are triple strength to most of the ones we see. By that I mean the amount of cannabis in the amount of oil is much more concentrated. So you don't have to take as much. So you get a really good dose with a low amount of oil. Not to say that the other ones aren't great, but if you're going to really rev it up and try to really treat something with cannabis, I would say, we don't want to skimp. We want to get something really good quality. So again, anything that's full spectrum. There's different base oils, so if something doesn't agree with you, you have options now. It doesn't have to be coconut oil or olive oil, but we also have ones with safflower, almond oil, avocado oil. So a tincture, again, you take by mouth, but treating internally, ingesting it is everything I read points to that. You need to ingest it rather than just, rub it on topically or smoke it. You really need to get it in your system. So we sell a lot of tinctures, we sell a lot of capsules. Depending on where cancer is in someone's body, there's also suppositories. That's a whole new realm, specifically for females as well, or males. Suppositories are a really great bioavailable way to get your medicine.
Yeah, that reminds me too much of my childhood, suppositories, but that's a whole different story.
Oh boy, yeah.
About a grandmother and a small boy. No. But no. Oh no. So you've got a list of issues that a list of issues that, aren't specifically for women, but women seem to suffer more of it.
Yeah, I would say one of the things we see a lot of women coming in for is help with, sexual issues. Trying to stay in the mood, especially as we go into menopause and we go through changes in our female cycle and our hormones. I would say, being in the mood, being ready for sexual activity is something that plagues some women. And we all know cannabis lowers your stress and your inhibitions and kind of loosens you up a little bit. So we've always known that, right? Smoke a little joint and you feel a lot more relaxed. But there's so many products now. Foria is a great one. They make both a lube product as well as some suppositories. I love that product. Their enhancement oil, their sexual enhancement oil is very popular. We sell a lot of that. And again, it's really just there to lower your inhibitions, have a good time, relax a little, but smoking a good old joint works wonders for that too. So we see a lot of men and women coming in though, and that's a topic that we love and are very discreet about discussing with people. So we can help there. Do you have any questions on that?
Well, I'm curious about the whole suppository. We're using a suppository for that. What does the label say the onset for that is? I mean, because if you're getting in the mood...
There's 3 different suppositories that they carry. One is... there's many, I should say, but there's one that's specifically for cramps, one that's specifically for women needing relief from their cycles, or... any other sort of health issues that would affect your, say, uterus and ovaries, because it's a THC CBD combination, just takes the pain away and helps with inflammation. So that's more of the medical side.
Okay, so wait, while we're on the subject of menstruation, so now a suppository for menstruation. Now is that a vaginal suppository?
That's a vaginal suppository. And there's quite a few to choose from. There's one there's 2 that are specifically for women for that. But then there's a whole line of product that we carry from CBD Alive that can be used front and back, we'll call it, men or women. And it can be used for other things as well, including IBS, any sort of cancers in that lower part of your body. Again, it's very bioavailable when it absorbs that way. You don't seem to get too much of a high from it. I've tried some pretty strong ones, and I would say that it just did the job of the pain relief more than any of it creeping up to your brain. But there are, as part of the pleasure products, there are what we would call backdoor suppositories as well for anal play, for pleasure. And so there's a lot of options as far as the suppositories are concerned, and it's a fantastic niche product and seems to work really well. I mentioned IBS, people that have broken both their legs. I've sold them for that. You have extreme pain in your lower back. That's the most direct way to get the pain relief.
So I want to go back a little bit with the IBS, because now, from what I understand about IBS, if you're going to use cannabis for your IBS, the best thing is to have a tincture, because edibles or a gummy, since you kind of have issues with absorbing nutrients anyways through your intestine,
right?
You will absorb it from how I understand it anyways, but you're not going to get that full effect. That's why they suggest to use a tincture for it, because it goes
absorbs under your tongue.
Right, it absorbs under your tongue, exactly.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Certain people with certain metabolic, issues or extremely high metabolisms or problems absorbing nutrients because of a disease or whatever it might be, you're absolutely right. There's people that claim that they can eat very strong edibles and have no effect whatsoever. It's just their body just blocks it or doesn't absorb it.
That's a shame.
It's a shame, and it's not based on any sort of. I've looked for patterns in body size or type or whatever, and it's not about that. It's just about how their body metabolizes, and so yeah, absolutely. Under the tongue, I take tinctures every single day. I love tinctures, and I have different tinctures I love for different reasons. We were talking about cramps and chronic pain issues where you have to get up and still go to work, but you want that pain relief, so you don't want the THC effects necessarily, but you want that THC for the relief. I use a product that is 1-to-1 ratio, but the THC is THCA, which is the raw form we've talked about so many times.
The acid form, right.
So that 1-to-1 CBD THCA has been a miracle product for me for dealing with my periods and my pain and being able to function, because you get that full benefit. 1-to-1. I love selling any product that is a 1-to-1 ratio.
I didn't realize they made those. That's pretty.
That is a very specific. It's
cool.
A brilliant tincture. They were selling it to me originally for. I had good experience with patients with fibromyalgia, a chronic pain condition. Where you have to function though. You got to get up and go to work, so you need that maximum relief, but without the side effects.
Sure.
So again, for cramps, I have found that to be really useful as well. You can also, there's discussion now about absorption through your belly button. And I know there's a scientific word for me and it escapes me right now.
Come on, that sounds like a level of kink. What are you talking about? Absorption through your belly button. Come on.
That's your lifeline when you're born, right? That's how you feed. So as far as an absorption place on your body, it is brilliant.
No, cool. All right, let's hear it. I've never heard of this before, but let's hear it.
I don't want to take all the credit. I read it on one of the websites, but you can actually put products into your belly button and have it absorb that way. That's what we're hearing now. So for cramps, I am literally already rubbing topicals all over my body. Anyway, topicals. Sure. Topicals are sort of the gateway for a lot of people that don't want to consume THC yet, but they want to start to feel better. So they start using topicals. Mm-hmm. Topicals, transdermal gel pens, all that stuff is so fantastic. I've experimented with a transdermal gel pen, which does get into the bloodstream.
How'd that work?
Via the belly button. I felt it worked great.
Did you do it in the belly button?
I did.
Okay, what were you taking it for? Was it localized or did
for cramps?
Was it localized?
Yeah, for cramps. I figured those transdermal gel products, the transdermal pens, the patches, those typically are worn on a vein close to the side of your pain. So if you're having arm pain, you'd put it on the vein on your hand. If you're having leg pain, we tell people to put it on their knee or on their foot. So it makes sense, if you're having cramps,
Sure.
that you want to try to
Right,
get it in
of
as
course.
quick and effective
course,
as
you
possible.
wanna-
You wouldn't want to put it on your foot if you have pain in your head, right? You want to put the topical and the transdermal closest. So that's been fun. That's been a fun conversation. More research needed, but I think it's funny.
I'm going to look it up now. The
Look
whole
it
belly
up.
button thing.
There's a...
There's somewhere in there. There's a meme somewhere.
I read it on I don't know if it was on High Times or somebody put it in writing, and I said, aha, I knew it. I knew that there was something behind this. So to hear somebody else mention it was really, yeah.
All right. I need to
look into this.
Yeah. Oh no, I will. That sounds fun. Are you kidding me?
It makes sense.
Come on, belly button science. Come on. That sounds fun.
So many people have back issues too. Just chronic sciatic, chronic hip and back pain. So again, these products, they sort of all work the same way, but whether it's cramps for female or cramps because you have a pinched nerve, if you can get the medicine close to the pain or ingest it or do both, sometimes it's a combination of both. I tell people I like to experiment, so I encourage people to do the same. I can't tell you what works for sure,
of course.
I definitely am a big advocate of, ingesting it and rubbing the topicals on. Topicals just feel good, right? It feels good to rub your leg and to rub your feet and to rub your back.
No, and topicals, topicals, they do a great job for any kind of, like you said, sore muscle inflammation.
Now, that leads me to, have you ever taken a bath in cannabis before?
No, not in reality. I've had a couple of dreams where I'm swimming in a sea of cannabis.
Well, there is Epsom salts infused with cannabis oil, and that is a fantastic delivery method as well, because not only are you coating your skin...
Is that going to make me smell like cannabis?
No, it's going to make you smell like eucalyptus and lavender.
Right.
It absorbs for females. Again, if you soak in a tub, it's going to go up into your mucous membranes. And so it is another fantastic one.
Uh-huh.
And I've heard from many women that taking a bath in our beautiful bath soaks, and there's several brands, you don't have to, they're all pretty equal as far as dose. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. And it sticks with you for a while. So you lay in it, it absorbs into your membranes, it's in your skin, the oil stays on your skin. You get out of there and you walk away like you're on cloud nine. You just feel so much better. And it lasts for hours. It feels good for a while. You do that and a suppository on your first day of your cycle. Okay, you are going to feel fantastic. Or at least better than you did. That's...
For a second, I thought you were talking to me specifically.
Not you specifically. Do that
until you
talking to the women out there. Yes. It's
again, I was just clarifying. For a moment, I thought until you said the suppositories, I was like, oh wait, that's not for me.
That's not for you specifically, but you probably would feel good too.
I'll do an Epsom salt, and if I'm feeling crazy, maybe a suppository. You said you got both.
You got both. And the bath soak, truly, you're having a bad day. You inhale that beautiful oil as well. It clears your sinuses. It's good for your skin. It's part of the self-care thing that we so truly love to promote. And speaking of which, Wednesdays, we're going to start doing Wellness Wednesday little talks here at the shop. This week we featured Papa Barkley with massages on site. So people could come, buy a product, get a promotional product, and then get a little chair massage on top of that. So it's all about self-care, and about taking care of your body. And again, we're going to do that every Wednesday, different topics, but all about taking care of yourself. So
what time is that happening?
It's going to be in the afternoons. This last one, I believe, was from 3 to 6.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're gonna have some more coming up. I know one of the workshops coming up. It's going to be about pets. The next one, that's a different workshop. But the Wellness Wednesdays, we're going to start doing. Just every Wednesday, something fun.
Something different.
I talked about maybe doing the tea, cocoa, the tea that you drink. Again, slowing down.
Have you used some of that tea? The
Absolutely.
Now, okay, so I'm skeptical of the tea.
No.
I'm skeptical of the tea. Here's why. Why. Because I know the cannabinoids are hydrophobic. Mm-hmm. Meaning that water is really not going to wash them off.
Right.
So, I wonder, okay, how much, what exactly,
how are they getting this to work?
Right. What are we drinking? Are we just drinking the essence of it, or? They
have cocoa, the brand we carry. Uh-huh. It is a tea that has all kinds of organic flowers and herbs mixed into it, but the cannabis part of it whether it's the CBD, because they have different formulas, some with CBD, some with THC, one with CBN, which we've talked about for sleep. They are crystallized forms of the cannabis, and those are water soluble, but at a certain temperature. So as soon as they hit the water, they disperse these little crystals. So you can't reuse the tea bag, obviously, because the crystals are going to, saturate in the liquid within the first few seconds. What we tell people is the first time, maybe make a cup for two, you and your partner. There's one called sensuality. There's one for healing. There's one for sleep.
Did you say they make one with THC?
They make one with THC. They make one with THC and green tea. That's the stimulating one. They make one with THC just for sensual reasons. It's more of a hibiscus flavored. It's beautiful. Date night tea. It is so good too. Make a couple, and again, it's part of the whole process. It's not so much like, let's get really, really high. Let's just feel good. Let's make our body relax. Let's maybe smoke a little joint, have a cup of tea. It's really, again, self-care, but also leading to that.
Do you guys have like a weekender kit, like somebody can pick up? Like
we can totally get you.
You got the Epsom salt and the tea in there.
A bath, maybe some rub, maybe. You totally could do this right. You could.
Valentine's coming up. Well, it's not coming up, but it'll be here soon.
We did. We featured all those for Valentine's Day, and they did really, really well. We sold out of that Foria oil, that pleasure oil. The first time we got it, we sold out right away. We ordered more. It comes in a little trial size or two bigger sizes.
God bless you, Ohio, America. God bless you for
God bless everybody. And if they come in and don't want to, if they're not comfortable speaking with a gentleman, they can request a woman. We can make it all right for you so that if it's comfortable and. We have certain people that request just a certain bud tender every time because we've had these conversations and we know where they're at. We don't want to retell the whole story.
Right. Sure, it makes sense.
We're helping people on a journey sometimes. Sure. We're helping them, really find themselves, and it's really a fun gig. It's really quite fun to help people feel better in one way or another. And part of that, I think, is especially, like we talked about, this erotic aphrodisiac side of cannabis. It's a fun twist on what we do.
Yeah, for sure. It's just becoming, mainstream to talk about the aphrodisiac side of cannabis.
Which I think we've always understood that. I mean, right? Maybe we made bad decisions when we smoked, but sometimes.
It wasn't backed by science, but...
No. That's the funny part. The last 25 years of my life I didn't have the science behind it. Now we do. And it's like, my God, we knew this. We knew this.
No wonder. So now going down on your list, you got depression marked out.
I do.
Now that's not specifically for women, but...
No, but these were some fun facts. I was on the Harvard Health Journal or what have you. They claim that women take 2.5 times more antidepressants than men if you look at, who's taking the prescriptions. I don't know if there's any truth to that.
Probably, but I wonder if men drink more.
I wonder if men just don't admit that they need it. That's what I was thinking.
Well, that's what I was getting at, why the drinking part comes in. It's all about coping mechanisms, I guess.
So it said that based on this study, that women who substituted pot for their antidepressants, they said 28% completely replaced all their prescriptions with cannabis. 28%. I'd say that's a pretty good reduction in
Wow, that's pretty good. 20%, I mean...
And they said about 78% at least found a decrease in their need to take their normal antidepressant drugs. So yeah, you're replacing maybe one for another, but it seems like a much more natural choice.
Well, it's all about harm reduction, right? I mean, whether you're replacing one for another, it's not about... it's about harm reduction. Which one's doing the least amount of damage and getting you that benefit?
Making you feel better. We typically... see people, depression, you get this idea that you need to be lifted back up somehow. So we see a lot of people reach for sativa strains, the uplifting edibles, the uplifting strains of weed. Blue Dream is one we speak of a lot because it's so happy, it's so creative, you just feel great. There's just so many options, but we do see, on the other side of that is there's a lot of people with anxiety as well, nervousness. I try to always picture the sliding scale of emotion and feeling in my own body. Where am I today? Am I up? Am I down? Am I in the middle? Where am I at? And it's different all the time. So when I think about it that way, I can help guide people either into sativas or indicas or hybrids or, just where are we? Where are we checking in at today?
Just to remind everybody, if you are on antidepressants and you want to use cannabis, please talk to your doctor.
Absolutely.
Before getting off of anything?
Absolutely. We say that all the time. Anytime you're trying to get off of something else, you really need to have a primary care doctor watching over you and making sure that you're doing it right, that you're stair-stepping where you're supposed to. And oftentimes it's a combination of both. I don't ever want to say that one is bad and one is good. It's like you said, where can we find some happy medium here and be the healthiest we can be, not damage our liver, not damage other parts, and just be healthy and happy. That's
because also sometimes they're finding that cannabis actually helps potentiate antidepressants, so you need less to get you that effective level. So I mean, I don't think there's a purist answer like, oh, people should only be taking cannabis.
No.
Man, I don't know if I want to tell people that.
No, absolutely. We want people to take what works for them and where they can live the best life and be the healthiest they can be and the happiest. And sometimes it is, sometimes we absolutely need to stay on a regimen with certain medicines and maybe, like we say, maybe just reduce or do whatever, but talk to your doctor for sure. And have a doctor that's open. I mean, I'm finding more and more doctors are so open now, or some are open but just don't want to discuss it necessarily, but they don't care that you're exploring cannabis. I think they're still at a loss for how to dose. They don't want to give advice. They don't really know. But I'm happy to hear that certain doctors are at least not completely shutting down the conversation.
Yeah, having a doctor that's open to it is really important. A lot of people around the country, because a lot of people don't live in cannabis-friendly states.
Right.
And they get a lot of pushback from their doctors. Their doctors, threaten to call the cops on them or take them off or stop treating them. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if part of it is because, are they afraid to keep learning? Are they already stuck in their ways? They've already learned everything they want to know about it. I know everything I want to know about it. I don't need to learn anything new. Which I found really interesting. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the CanMed event in Pasadena, and they had the continuing education courses for doctors. Well, I wasn't able to sit in any of them, but I thought that was really cool that they had them.
Well, that's just it. And I think most doctors and pharmacists I know, they want their research to be really firm and definitive, and they want the trials to have existed, and they want, there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of experimenting that we're still doing. When I was doing some research here for when we were going to talk about cancer, I was looking at the American Cancer Society's website, World Cancer Research Foundations, and it's really interesting to me what they're saying, in writing, what they will come out and say cannabis is good for. And it is interesting that it's still primarily on the treatment of side effects of your conditions, never talking about, obviously curing anything or anything of that nature, but we're still, at least they're starting to come around and say cannabis for sure can make you feel better when you're feeling crummy, when you're nauseous and when you're sick. So I think that we're taking little steps, but now if we're going to ever have the research and the funding to prove some of this, obviously it's happening, the cannabis industry is booming now, and we're going to get to the point where that's going to be all there, that research and that definitive clinical trial and study that the doctors feel comfortable. They want to see that. They want to see the rats being tested, and they want to see all of this.
Well, but see, that's just it, though. We need to see the human tests.
That's it.
Because we've already seen the effects on rats and dogs. But, depression... Mm-hmm. Depression we can't say 100% that depression in human is the same as depression in rats.
Absolutely.
So that's why that's why we need those human studies, because we need that.
We need
that
someone
concrete
to take,
proof.
Absolutely, and to keep track of the successes. And that's what we're to the point now where my boss is reaching out to anybody that's had a good experience. She would like to hear about it. She'd like to hear about some testimonials so that we can start compiling some information ourselves. We already have that from some of our vendors that have, done 5, 6, 7 years of just asking people what worked, what didn't work. So it's really just sort of this grassroots collective, let's just get all of our thoughts together. And then that's the only way we can consult people, is saying, I've heard that this works. I've heard this work for so-and-so. It works for me. It doesn't work for me. And that's really all we can speak to at this point is testimonials, whether it's personal or someone you know.
Right.
That's usually enough for people. The people that are here have already decided they want to explore cannabis. So that's, the first step.
Yeah, that's the good thing, that they came in on their own.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, they just stumbled into it. They're like, they came in with a purpose to, at the very least,
right,
be open enough to see what might work for them.
And bless their hearts. I mean, I had a young woman who came in who had just gotten her breast cancer diagnosis and was going to do all the things naturally that you can do, that you've heard you should do. Go to a plant-based diet. Very, very abruptly changing that in your lifestyle and things. And, bless your heart, because most insurances aren't going to cover this cannabis cost.
No.
Certainly not any sort of VA, so everybody's out of pocket for the most part on this. So for somebody to come in and be willing to spend, the couple $100 needed to get a starter kit of sorts, that's coming out of their pocket, and they've made this decision to do this, and I applaud them. I think that's very brave. Good for them, and we support them in that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Once again, it's all about also finding the right doctor, though.
Absolutely.
Also. Yeah.
And we have on our website and in-house, we have a pretty good list of doctors that are open. And again, because we had to have medical recs for a while, we can still go to those same doctors. They're still very open to this. There's a pain management doctor specifically that we deal with.
Is there a psychiatrist on there?
I was just thinking the same thing. I wonder who we can get, and that would be a great in-house wellness discussion, would be more the psycho.
Well, because I'm looking for a psychiatrist to talk to about PTSD.
That is a great topic.
And I have yet to find one. I know they're out there.
Absolutely.
But if anybody knows one, send them my way or send me their way. Either way.
We will do that. That is, there is a huge need to support, our veterans and everybody that has PTSD. And I was at a loss a few times, I have to admit, because I thought I'd seen it all, and somebody comes in and they're in a very sad place and you want to help. And we've been working on, and I'm glad you mentioned this, we've been working on sort of an Ojai outreach page, a page of resources here in our valley for people that maybe they're not aware of, if they're suffering in any way, if they need support.
That'd be cool.
So again, just because we see people in all situations and we feel like we can help here, but we really would like to help a little more. So again, out to the universe, I've got a few names already of people that have said, put my name down, a few pastors in town, a few other organizations. Of course, we have Help of Ojai and some other really great people.
You have a few pastors in town who are down for this?
We do. We have...
do they know you're from Sespe and what you do?
Well, some of them do, yes, absolutely.
Have they come in here and bought product? You don't have to name them.
No.
Okay.
It's more that we live in a small community,
Sure.
and I know who the good people are here. Whether I meet them here at the store or somewhere else, we have a fantastic town here.
Oh, yeah.
Ojai is fantastic. If you want to come and heal spiritually or physically, we have a cancer, group here. We have so many people, so many nurses, doctors. We really have a good network. It's just now, has somebody already made a list like this of all of these resources? If so, send it to me, please, because we have a lot of people that we would just like to be able to hand them over something that says, here's some more help.
Right.
Once they leave here. And I certainly
no, that's a pretty cool idea.
Want people to come back in and tell us how they're doing. I want to know, good or bad, come back, and we love sharing the stories with people. We love helping people. So we're all in this because our hearts are in this, that. And it's heavy on my heart some days when I go home and my aches and pains are minuscule in comparison to what I am helping
what some people
with.
come in for.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet.
It's humbling. It's humbling, and it's gratifying, and it's great to help people. I can't even, I didn't know that was going to be part of this bud tender gig. I didn't know that this part of ultimate compassion and just, learning so much from people.
It's got to be a thing for you guys to run into people just pain every day at all hours. Man, I can't imagine. I've been in accidents before to where I've been in pain for, a couple of months, but every day that's your reality. That's a rough place to be.
It is so rough. It is. And people struggling with that chronic pain, it just, yeah, it makes me very sad. And I know it like we talked about depression, that comes sometimes what we're feeling is a direct result of that pain. We're sad because we're in pain. So then we're dealing with two different things. We're dealing with the actual pain and the cause of that pain. And now we're dealing with this depression because
the pain doesn't let you do something.
Right. And we experience that just in our own household. I know my husband, when he's not feeling, 100%, his body, I can tell it's wearing on him, and so it's really interesting. But yeah, it's very rewarding to and it can be very sad at the same time because, it doesn't always end well, but
yeah, that's one thing that always gets me is that I run into people, and I give them the best advice that I can over whatever condition they may tell me they have. I'm not a doctor by any means. Sometimes, like you said, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Cannabis isn't a panacea. It doesn't help every condition. I wish it did. But, the reality is sometimes, to tell them the truth that, everything I've read doesn't show that cannabis is going to help whatever condition it's not going to help.
I'll tell you what it does help. And for me, it's always just that it takes your mind off of things. And whether it's temporary that, you smoke a joint, you feel good, that's enough. That's sometimes just all you need. It's just to relax and it's like going away into the forest,
there's nothing wrong with some escape.
Exactly.
And a lot of square people will look down on that like, well, it's just an escape. And I was like, well, there's nothing wrong with that.
But if that escape causes you to relax, causes your irritable bowel to relax, causes your nervousness to just relax a little bit, you will be have a more enjoyable life. I mean, you will
sure.
And we see a lot of people that we recommend CBD oil a lot for people with anxiety. And again, that can trickle down if you can put a stop to your anxiety every day. Then again, your bowels and your stomach and everything else, and it's amazing. We used to just talk about mental health and then your physical health. I think we're so at a place now where we understand that connection between gut health and mental health and all these different components where what you are what you eat. We know that now. I study nutrition on the side and work with the school program Food for Thought to teach about nutrition as well. So again, if somebody told me that I was really sick right now and I know what I would have to do, I know that I would have to go strict plant-based diet, and I know that. I'm not doing that yet. I'm not quite there, but you would do what it takes to make yourself healthy, right? You have to advocate for yourself, and I definitely think cannabis can help with a lot of those side effects and whatever your ailment is.
Hey, so let me take you back a bit to the CBD that you guys carry. So do you guys carry any hemp-derived CBD, something less or at least, 0.3 of THC? Because I know some people have a very low tolerance and they will feel that one that 1-to-1.
So there is, we do not carry any hemp CBD. Everything we have is cannabis. We do carry some that have below the required amount of THC to have to put it on the label, but it does have a trace amount of THC, if that makes sense.
There's an amount?
There's an amount that if it goes over, you have to actually, put it up there. It still has to be on there. You want to have, there's certain requirements for labeling, but we talk a lot about needing the THC to help the CBD work, and that's still true. So I still would always try to find out what someone's tolerance is to THC and try to get them at least something in a range that's going to make them feel something. Because oftentimes people come in, they're afraid of the THC, they want pure CBD. We kind of explain to them that that's not really going to be like a light switch effect where suddenly you wake up and everything's different one day.
That's something that we need to talk about, is that it is going to take a couple of weeks maybe. It does. I mean, I know for me, so I don't take CBD for any kind of pain really, because I don't have a lot of pain, but it does help me sleep more restfully. But when I started taking it, it took me about 2 weeks, about 10 days to really notice the difference. It wasn't like the next day, like, oh my God, that was so great. It took me a while to actually notice it. And a lot of people get impatient. They're, 2 or 3 days in, and they're like, I'm not feeling anything.
So we're talking CBD here. If you add THC, your experience is going to be much more vivid, and it's going to be much more apparent. I'll put it I
like that word, vivid.
So I recommend oftentimes for sleep disorders a combination of CBD and THC, because we believe that the CBD works on that brain part of that shutting down, so you can relax your thoughts and go to sleep. People that have that to-do list in their head.
Yeah, it's always racing.
It's racing.
Sure.
CBD can quiet the mind, and THC can relax the body. So together for sleep, I like the two. I have found that if I just do THC alone for sleep, it's more of a crash and burn, and I wake up a bit dizzy sometimes if I take too much. I get up to go to the bathroom and I just don't feel myself, and I might wake up groggy if I take too much. But with the CBD and the THC together, it always seems to work a little better. That's funny you mentioned this. We were talking about insomnia. That came up in the women's health as one of the main issues is sleep. And again, it's probably because women do have these, active minds. We're task-oriented. We're multitaskers.
And there's a stress issue.
There's so much stress.
And
it's all basically said. THC, we know the side effects being euphoria, another word for happy.
Oh, yeah.
The munchies, you might get a little hungry. And it mentioned again that increased libido. So it's interesting, I like all those side effects of THC, but I have to watch how much I take. Otherwise, those side effects of the dizziness and the grogginess can come into play. CBD alone, I have heard that if you take enough of it, you can get some sleep relief. I don't necessarily ever tell people that a high CBD product is going to be good for sleep, though. Unless, again, your mind is the only part we're trying to work on here, of quieting that down.
Right.
But if you want to sedate your body, you got to get a little THC, but you don't have to get too much. So back to your first question, CBD tinctures without THC, we have options. They will have a tiny, tiny little bit of THC. And we have one that has almost none, but the ones we carry that are like that are full spectrum. So they've taken them from an entire crop of plant and used the whole plant in the full form, the green form. And in that case, you get what the plant gives you. In this case, it just gave them one that didn't have very much THC at all.
Okay.
But it's still a full spectrum cannabis tincture. So that's for people that are afraid of a drug test or afraid of the THC or very highly sensitive.
Right.
Otherwise, I usually push people into something stronger. Stronger meaning more THC. But again, you have 20-1, 30-1 high CBD ratios, way out of the ballpark, and then you have straight THC tinctures. So we have everything in between 10-1, 8-1, 4-1, 2-1, referring to CBD to THC.
Okay.
So there is a combination for literally everybody, for everything. And you can really control your dose. With a tincture, you can decide if you take a couple drops or a dropper full. So it's up to you how much you take. I love tinctures. Love them. Didn't know I'd love them so much, but I really do.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I like a good THC tincture in my world, in my day.
I usually do a 1-1 or a 2-1. I've done a 4-1 for daytime. And again, it's just enough THC to get the pain relief that you're trying to achieve, and the CBD for whatever inflammation, mood, whatever. I see it as instead of taking a daily vitamin, I take my tincture. That's how I approach it now.
No, I take my THC tincture for fun.
You take it for fun. We sell it for fun too.
God bless America. See?
God bless America indeed.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about menopause.
Okay.
Because the older you get, well, not you and I.
Well, I'm middle-aged. I'm pre-menopause, so...
What is it? Okay, so what does that mean, pre-menopause? And I know it means before menopause, but
basically, I'm done having kids, but I'm on the decline. So,
but are you symptomatic of something?
No. It's just that time in your life when you, hot flashes. That's been my main symptom. But no, I'm 45. I'm at the age where things will start to slow. Well, yeah, and I talked to my mom about it. My mom's still around, and she's a patient. She comes in and buys her stuff, topicals. So I was able to ask her, at what age were you menopausal, Mom? At what age did you get these symptoms? It's really fascinating to talk health and things with your family. And that's why we need to know our medical histories and, know where we came from. not only because it's fun, but also because it explains a lot. And so I asked my mom, how old were you when it started to slow down? And when did you stop having your period? And I have a cool mom who will talk about all this stuff. So we're on that phase where I just know that, I'm not having any more kids. My son's 15. But yeah, hot flashes, increased periods actually is a symptom. Before they get less, they get more. So that's fun. But something that I had not really thought about.
And I'm asking because I'm a guy.
You're a guy.
Okay, so the increase, what do you mean, more than once a month?
No, I'm still just once a month, set to the moon.
No, but what does that mean, an increased period?
It's just heavier. And I think once you have children, a lot of women experience heavier periods as well. So once you have your kids, I joke that my condo has been remodeled and expanded, right? So
Sure.
And a typical, when they typically, recommend estrogen replacement therapy to women, which is pretty common, when you go to the doctor and say, I don't feel good, I have menopause, that's what they give you. And
it's a hormone therapy.
And they said oftentimes that's for the bone density, bone loss. Women, have brittle bones and start breaking bones. My mom just broke her arm. Totally I learned through just living, I'm telling you. So my mom fell, her mother had broken her hip, my mom broke her arm. It's just one of those things that starts happening as you get older. So I started reading about cannabis and bone stimulants because people often ask, why would you need a bone stimulant? I don't know why I never connected the dots to menopause and to women. I always thought, maybe somebody had bone cancer. That's all I could think about.
Okay.
But bone stimulant as far as menopause, these are cannabinoids we don't necessarily always see, but CBG, CBC, and THCV are ones that got brought up, as well as CBD.
As a bone stimulant?
As a bone stimulant. And that's on our little chart. And certain full spectrum tinctures include all those beautiful cannabinoids. THCV, bone stimulant, also is an appetite
suppressant, isn't it?
Suppressant, which for most women, gaining weight into their later years is a problem. So my goodness, if you can also maybe...
and that's also a good thing for diabetic patients.
Absolutely. And we have a strain of flower that we're currently selling that is rich in THCV, and it's exactly being promoted for that. So it's funny how you can look at these charts and see all these letters, and it's not until you really start digging that you go, now I know why. Now I know why we need to know all of this. This is very interesting. So it said no clinical studies have been done. Dosage is still being developed, but that's a very interesting way to avoid estrogen replacement therapy.
So do we know? Yeah.
And that's the other thing. As we find something like CBN we talked about for sleep, all of a sudden they can start, selling products that are specific to that. When they're new and when they're the hottest new thing, they're often more expensive. CBN is like that right now. And so anything that's specifically, but it's when you see the amount that's in a plant and you're trying to target that, it's going to be expensive because it's a very small amount of the greater picture. So
right, because anything else is going to, if it's not in the plant, anything else is just going to be an isolate from it.
Right. So it's fascinating. And again, people we have that chart that explains the whole, cannabinoid structure going from raw to heated to aged. And people love taking a picture of that chart because it's, first of all, it looks really fancy. It looks like you really know what you're talking about. And I wish I could go back and take college chemistry again. This is so fascinating to me. All of this. I wish they taught this class.
Yeah, it's really interesting just to see all the science coming out about it and how I find the education side really interesting because of the flow of the information, the way it's going. Because for the most part, especially in households, it's the younger people in the house teaching the older people in the house about these things.
Oh, the kids are talking about it. I'm telling you, yeah.
Whereas, classically that kind of health information ran the other way. Your mom tells you chicken soup is good for you for a cold and this, that, and the other thing. Don't do that because you're going to get sick. And it's not like that with cannabis.
No, and it's...
At least for the most part, it seems.
It is... it's really interesting. And you're right. The younger crowd, they're aware of it now. They're asking questions. I keep hearing all the kinds of weird numbers and studies. And, legalization did not lead to more people consuming, as far as illegally, children and things. And I don't know if that's a correct, but I keep seeing that it's actually my kid doesn't want anything to do with this. He knows what it's all about.
My daughter's bored to death of it.
Right? Exactly.
She's bored to death of it. She's all like,
he's like, God, stop talking about cannabis.
Yeah.
It's isn't that funny? And I don't have to.
She's bored to death of this, it's interesting.
Well, and that brings, you wanted to talk about vaping as well, I know.
Well, yeah, I'm really curious on, in the past, what's it been, like 3 weeks, a month, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of questions you've had lately? Or because, cartridges are pretty popular, man.
Cartridges are very popular. And I would say in the last couple weeks, there's been some hesitation from people. There's been a few patients who have sworn off of them completely. I get a lot of, I told you so, we didn't know anything about this. And, people...
I was having that same conversation with someone today. They were saying, I've always told people not to get them. I was like, I can't say anything. I used to get them. I stopped getting them because they used to mess with my throat. And I can't, do the podcast and do vape pens too much. But...
So vaping, first of all, we got a fact sheet that came from two of our biggest vendors, Bloom Farm and Cannacraft. And together, they prepared this as sort of like they said, a community-oriented cannabis company is what they are. These guys are great. And they came out with this statement to help kind of, explain a few things to us, to inform and educate, because vaping, they use that word kind of to include anything that's an electronic battery liquid device, whether it's nicotine or cannabis. So we always have to say, okay, well, nicotine is one thing, cannabis is another. But then we've had to go a little further and explain not all vaping is equal. There are black market cartridges out there that have been filled in somebody's basement and they're being sold or delivered to your home via different methods. If you are buying an illegal dispensary, and you will know it's a legal dispensary because they're very high profile. Like, there's no legal dispensary that just showed up one day out of the blue. We were highly publicized. The cops all know where we're at. A legal dispensary is doing it right. They're buying products that have been tested. They're buying from hopefully vendors they know and trust, which we do. We only want to buy from people that are transparent and will tell us how they extract and all the details as to what they're putting into them. Most of them should always just be cannabis oil. There should not be a thinner. There should not be other ingredients.
A dilutant?
There shouldn't be a dilutant. And I believe that's what was happening with the vitamin E, propylene glycol. And it's weird because some of those may or may not show up if they're even tested legally. If they test them in a laboratory, which they test all flower, cartridges, everything sold in a legal dispensary has been tested, third party. We get a sheet, a data sheet of all the results that come from that test. So if you come in and say, show me Bloom Farms cartridge test results, we can provide that for you and show you what we're actually looking for. And if you see what we're looking for, you will understand why it costs so much, first of all, to operate legally, why our cartridges are a little more money than the ones you can get down on the avenue or whatever. There's a lot of things that we have to do to make sure that we're safe and compliant. And so these test results that we get on products, flower and vapes, are really fascinating for me to read. They look at residuals. They look at flower. They look at pesticides, molds, things like E. coli, foreign matter, metals. So back in the day when they used to, short you on the weed and add something in there, sand or something like that. That was common, right? Dirt, sand, whatever. That wouldn't pass nowadays because there's levels that everything has to be under to pass. And if it doesn't pass, it doesn't hit the shelves. So we can pull these data sheets on flower and cartridges and every product in here and look at it and see what's in there. Ingredients like vitamin E could probably make it through a test because it's a natural thing, but it's not meant to be heated and ingested into your lungs. So that's why we want to make sure that people know the ingredients of their vapes that they're buying, know where the product's been sourced, and again, there should be testing along the way to make sure that what you're getting is absolutely the best. Then we're looking at these illicit vapes that are out there. People show them to me all the time. They tell me, I was able to get a full gram vape for what you guys charge for a half gram. They show it to me. It's a fake. It's not a real cartridge. It's been bought illegally. I can't tell you what's in that. I don't know. I know what's in the ones we carry.
Sure.
And I know that the ones we carry, to the best of our knowledge, based on the current set of rules, are considered clean and good and safe. Now, again, should you be sucking on your vape pen all day long and making big smoke clouds? And, some people vape like that. Some people use
cloud chasers, yeah.
Yeah, the cloud chasers. Certain people, though, are really truly using this for medical, and they're limiting themselves to their 1 or 2 little hits, and they're very methodical about it. We even have vapes that have regulators so that you don't overdo it. But it's a big, crazy...
So, are all
mess.
the ingredients labeled on the cartridge packaging?
Yes. And most of them just say 100% cannabis oil. The few exceptions to where that would break with products we carry is adding additional terpenes. Terpenes are, we've talked about this on the show, you always talk about terpenes. It's the essential oils that are found in the plant. The terpenes they're adding are real terpenes. They're plant-based, so they're...
Well, are they real terpenes from cannabis, or are they... Because, terpenes, you can get you can get phytoterpenes. You can get them from, other
They call
fruit.
them food-grade terpenes.
Sure.
Yes, so that's something that we have started to really drill down on with people and say, tell us what's in there. Tell us what you're doing. We know the vendors that add those, and we will clearly tell you these have additional terpenes in them, but that's where people get that flavor they're looking for. Mm-hmm. What's come out now recently that's even better, and the term is being thrown around kind of loosely nowadays, but it's, again, the full spectrum. Mm-hmm. The live resin, the raw, the stuff that's been done while the plant's still green, usually flash frozen, then extracted. Again, trying to preserve more natural terpenes so that we don't have to add stuff back in. The more flavorful you can get it on the first round, then you don't have to go and add a bunch of flavoring. If you can make your cookies taste good by using good ingredients and doing it right, you don't need to add a bunch of other flavorings, right?
Because also, one of the unknowns of adding more terpenes is that we really don't know what those extra terpenes are doing to us, because they don't come in those quantities and those percentages in the flower themselves. And so when we start adding terpenes to it, we don't really know. Because it's very possible extra terpenes or more terpenes could be one of the causes of a lung disease. We don't know.
We don't really know. And we don't really know what the limit to how much vaping is okay. How much can your lungs actually filter?
That's another thing too, is with all of these people who are getting sick, we read, I read in the news, there's over 1,000 cases, 18 people have died, but none of those studies or none of that tells me how long the people have been vaping. How
long, how much. They're not naming any brand names at this point. They're really, it's a confusing, and if this is what's you knew that something was gonna have to push more research and, to be able to tell us, how much can we vape safely?
Yeah.
And for me, it's always been more that it's just so strong. Vaping typically is, 3 times the amount of cannabinoids, THC, than smoking flower.
Right.
So if you take one hit, on a pipe or something like that, one hit on a vape is a lot stronger. And I see the amount that some people are vaping, and I just don't think you need that much. At some point, it's more habitual than it is necessary.
That could be it. The habit thing could be it. But for me, vaping wise, while I may be getting more THC, a vape pen has never gotten me high. It's gotten me stoned, which is different to me. Mm-hmm. High is that the first 20 minutes when I just hit a joint. Yeah. that high feeling you get, oh fuck, this is the high. I've never gotten that with the vape cartridge. I've gotten stoned to where it's kind of that level, even keel plateau kind of feeling. But I've never actually gotten oh my God, I'm too high to go. No, not off a vape pen.
And it feels different to me, the high on a vape pen. It really does. It doesn't equate for me to flower or anything else, really. It's a whole nother, it's a thing. I consider it a whole nother group of people. There's a huge group of people that's the way that they consume.
Sure. Yeah, that's the way they. Yeah, exactly. That's
and
the
maybe
way
they never were smokers of the flower, and maybe it is for people that are trying to be discreet. Mm-hmm. It's a definite game changer there because you don't smell like pot. You don't walk into a room.
Well, I mean that is the positive of it. I know if I ever have to go to let's say a school function and I don't want to smoke a joint in the parking lot, I can just hit a vape pen.
Right, you're going out to a concert or a movie or something and you're trying to be discreet. But yeah, I definitely, the purist in me always felt that I personally was going to be a flower smoker for my whole life. Not that I wasn't going to suddenly fall in love with vaping and throw away my pipe. Sure. That wasn't going to happen. And I think for me, part of it is that you do know exactly how much it takes when you're smoking out of a pipe. You know the effects. It's different. But my goodness, I mean, we do, like you said, we've seen quite a few people coming in wanting to have this discussion every day. My mom included. She came in and...
Does your mom vape?
No. She still smokes Capri cigarettes, though. So I
was wondering, wow, that's right. Your mom's out there vaping. Okay.
No, if I could get her to switch her Capri cigarettes to a nice CBD
the Capri, the little thin ones?
The little thin ones. She's still smoking on those. So, but again, I think she'd be the perfect candidate for a CBD-rich pre-roll. I really do.
Who was talking to me about that? About using CBD pre-rolls to quit smoking?
Well, because for her, she gets on the phone. She likes to have a cup of coffee and she likes to have her cigarette. I know the deal. Sure. Because I'm that same way, but different product. And for her, it's the social. They were of the late 70s, early 80s. They used to play bridge and smoke and drink. Okay. And I know it's just part of. I joked about that the other day. I said I could see myself, in a cafe in France with my coffee and my smoke, but my smoke would be cannabis, of course. But that sort of culture of sitting around and talking, having coffee, talking, a smoke. Yeah, my mom's really like that, and so she doesn't hide it anymore. She used to hide it when we were kids, but we do have CBD-rich pre-rolls, and we seriously said this yesterday when they were here. We need to let her try this. We need her to try this.
Yeah, I think give her a pack and tell her, look, just replace it.
Replace it.
That's all. Just instead of smoking your Capri, smoke this. You're not going to feel high, but you're still going to get that whole and with routine of it. I don't know.
With the older crowd, especially my mom, because she's fallen and because, I really want to be careful. We want to be careful with older people that we don't want to make anything worse for them. We don't want to make them dizzier. I know being... Oh, yeah,
that's true.
Being unsure on your feet is
a
very...
an unsteady gait, maybe.
Yeah, you don't want to really... And so that's why we talked earlier about the tinctures and knowing how much you can take where you don't wake up wobbly. I totally understand what people are talking about because I'm already there. I have to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night or let the dog out, and I need to know that I'm okay on my feet when I get up. I don't want to wake up and be like, oh my God, whoa, what's happening? The room's spinning. Nobody wants to feel like that. I mean, sometimes you do, but...
Not when you just wake up.
In a medical sense, you don't. You want to really just treat your symptoms and treat yourself, but not... You don't want to create more problems for yourself. You want to help, not make it worse. So... Dizziness, that's been my fear about getting my mom onto different things. Is she okay on her feet? I don't want her to spill. I don't want her to fall. So,
does your mom still live alone?
No. My mom my mom and dad live here. But again, split level house. We've already had the one fall. We're just so right now we're just doing topicals. But
perfect.
But I find it all very fascinating. I love working with multi-generational. In something like this where you're treating young and old, and it really. We just talked about how we don't sit around and talk with people enough anymore. This is great that you still do a podcast, and we love hearing the stories that people come in and tell us. And that's, I think, one of the reasons we keep doing this is it's really important to have the narrative and the talk and talk, tell me what you're feeling. I don't think a lot of people ask old people that, They don't say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling?
Well, just the fact is to sit there and listen to them.
Right.
They'll talk to you.
They will. And they're doctors. My mom and dad, they had a doctor they loved. Well, he just adiosed and moved out of town. And they were left high and dry. And I thought that was really kind of
He didn't hand them off to anybody? Or?
Not so much. So they had some suggestions, but it wasn't a smooth transition. And it left me really upset and nervous for them because at 75, you need somebody looking out for you. So again, this bigger conversation of being your own advocate or having somebody who advocates for you with your health care or having a doctor that you love and trust. It's great if you have family that's helping you out. But not everybody has that. So like we definitely want to be like the Cheers bar kind of scene where we make sure we're checking in on everybody, we're asking about them. And yeah, people totally love. That's, I think, why we win Best of Ventura, because we listen to people. We want to hear their stories and help them.
Well, Christina, hey, thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
So how can people find Sespe Creek Collective Dispensary up here?
We are at 408 Bryant, and we are sespe.org on the internet. We also have a Instagram page and a Facebook page. We have a newsletter, a text club. We make it really easy for people to find us. And
a text club?
We have a text club. If you sign up here, up front, there's a little kiosk where you punch in your phone number, just like you do at Jim and Rob's and some other favorite places around town. And we will send special coupons to those people once a week. And those are usually really fun coupons. The newsletter is very informative. Our blog is very informative. We have a lot of people that work together on our marketing team. We have a good team that really just spreads the word. And we are always here for people. You can come in every day, 10 to 7. We are open, 9 to 7, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sunday, we are 10 to 5. That is our shorter day. But you can come in anytime, get one-on-one with a bud tender.
9 to 7?
9 to 7 awesome. Every day except Sunday, 10 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're here 7 days a week and available by phone, by email. I mean, any way you want to do it. We are Original Sespe on Instagram. That is where we kind of put all the fun stuff, the deals, the what's going on live in the store with demos and things like that. So
aside from Wednesday, what do you guys got going on next week?
So we have coming up all kinds of good stuff. What I wanted to mention was, because we just had the Wellness Wednesday, on October 14th at 6:15, we're doing Cannabis for Pets. October 21st, we're going to talk more vaping safety. So that's going to be at 6:15. Those events are going to be a little later, and they're going to be a combination of like virtual, like a telecast with somebody live. There's going to be some. We're going to try to make it fun. Sure. Just people like Q&As. People like coming to things in LA.
Do you have a vet coming in for that pet talk?
We do have a vet coming in for the pet talk. Cannabis for Pets with Eileen Gillen.
Yep. Oh, I love Eileen Gillen. I've had her on my show. What day is that? Is that this Wednesday?
No, that's October 14th. So a week from Wednesday. No, that's not even a Wednesday, is it? What day is that? Hold on. That's a Monday. October 14th in the evening. Write that down. So this is all a part of our newsletter. So if everybody really would like their info in one place that's really kind of neat and tidy, where you can go back to it and refer to dates and stuff, newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. You can do that on our website, sespe.org. Scroll down to the front page at the bottom, and there's a place to type in your email, and you're signed up. And that's where you also... the Wellness Wednesdays that we have coming up. We already did the massage. The next one that's on here is November 6th. We talked about terpenes. There's going to be a terpene oxygen bar. That's kind of an interesting thing. That'll be fun. And then it just goes on and on and on. So yeah, sign up for the newsletter. I tell people I as an employee have to refer to it often because there's a lot of info in there, but it's really important info. It talks about new products, specials and deals. And we also support ohiherbal.org, which is the herbal symposium here in Ojai. Have you ever been to any of their talks?
I have, yeah.
So there's one coming up November 16th and 17th at Crotona again.
I think my buddy Jake Felice is talking.
Yeah, those are always really great. Our friend Lanny that does the herb walks, he's involved. And I love this community. If I haven't mentioned that already, Ojai is amazing for health and wellness. I think it's fantastic. Sure.
All right, Christina.
So much info.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Everybody else, I'm going to take a quick break, play some music, and I will be back. And that was Christina, ladies and gentlemen. I always love talking to her. I've known her for a long time. Again, I want to thank her for taking the time. I also want to thank Sespe Creek for letting me record this over there. Well, mis amigos, my friends, that's all I've got for you today, man. That's it. That's a show. Again, I appreciate you listening. And if this show has entertained you, educated you, or even given you a little bit of escape from your day, do us a favor. Go over to patreon.com/InMyGrowShow and leave a financial donation. And if you don't want to do that, go ahead and click on the link at the bottom of the show notes. And you can order a t-shirt. It's a new style of t-shirt. Go over there, check it out. Let me know what you think. Pick one up. Or before you go shopping on Amazon, also click on the link in the show notes, because that'll let them know that we sent you and the show gets a commission. Now, if you can't help the show financially, don't worry about it, man. I get it. But here's how you can help out. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. Subscribe to the website, inmygrow.com. And then subscribe to the YouTube channel, In My Grow. And after you do all that subscribing, tell 3 other people about the show. That would be a huge help. Also, if you are a cannabis company and want to advertise to our worldwide audience, go ahead and send an email to inmygrow@gmail.com and we'll figure something out. Now, you know I love you all very much. I'll talk to you in a couple of days. And remember to always grow, learn, and teach.
Get